Welcome. Good afternoon. I'm going to give you a tour of Bluetooth Mesh, and I'll try to explain how it works under the hood and how what we've built into that system, how it all makes it really revolutionary, and how it really positions all the products that are based on Bluetooth Mesh as really products that will take over this industry. I strongly believe that this is the revolution that has already started. So the introduction we've already had. What they've said, and that's fundamentally important, that this is a global thing. Bluetooth is a global standard that's unified across all countries on the planet. So that's very important if you think about like building and shipping a product, because then you just have one single SKU that can address a global market. That's very important, very powerful. Not every known wireless standard can do that. Bluetooth is really global in that sense. And Mesh, as you see here, is simply one of the topologies that Bluetooth radios can form. So out of those topologies, Bluetooth started with point-to-point, two devices, the concept of pairing that you probably are familiar with, and then it went to broadcast topology and finally Mesh in 2017. So Mesh is already almost 2 years old. It will be full 2 years in July. So it's already a very mature standard, I would say, because things grow fast, and we already have north of 100 Bluetooth Mesh qualified products listed at the Bluetooth SIG website, and those products are tested for interoperability, and already today we have commercial implementations of real installations, real projects. I believe the other two companies that follow me today will talk about this. Okay, so let's jump to the essence. So this is lighting control before Bluetooth Mesh, right? This is real stuff, and this is expensive stuff, and this is labor-intensive stuff, and it works. It's great. It's just heavy, and Bluetooth Mesh is really changing that, because we are offering you now really the silver bullet. So this is the new lighting control, and I have it in my pocket, actually. This is a complete lighting control system. It's not just a sensor. It looks like a sensor. It's a complete lighting control system. You don't need anything else. And this is just one incarnation of that. I believe Blaine and Jeremy will be showing you other form factors that are available. Of course, they are for different use cases, but you don't need anything else. Well, you may need one more thing, which is a switch. And this is a Bluetooth switch from our friend company that's located over there, an Ocean. The beauty of that switch is that it's wireless. You can stick it on a wall using a double sticky tape, and it works forever. It doesn't have batteries because it's self-powered. It's powered by the force. When somebody presses that switch, you generate energy, enough energy to wake up the microprocessor, to wake up the radio, transmits signals, and then it goes to sleep. So this is an add-on product. This is your complete lighting control system. That's the revolution, and that's why we believe this is a silver bullet. This is how smartphones came around. Before smartphones, you know, we were really in that reality. We had alarm clocks, travel alarm clocks. There was a whole category of things, like travel alarm clocks. Who uses them anymore? You have your phone, right? There were cameras, pocket cameras. We no longer use them, because camera now has become a part of a phone, which phone is no longer a phone. It's just like phone is one function of that device that we still call a smartphone. So this is very similar. This is what's happening right now, and I'll show you what makes it such revolutionary, what's inside that little thing. So Bluetooth Mesh Network, this illustration you may see quite often. So these are lights in a ceiling with Bluetooth radios built into them. And they form a mesh network, which means that any light can connect to any nearby light. And the nature of this mesh network is that they can relay information from one to another, to another, to another. So they only need to be in range of the nearest neighbors, and then the neighbors relay the information further and further and further. And this is how it works over a large area. Now, when you look inside a luminaire like this one, you have the typical components like the light source, like the driver, and then you add this, which is a sensor, but this is a complex sensor controller thing. And this is just one place where Bluetooth can land in a luminaire. And I believe the other presenters will be demonstrating you where else Bluetooth can be located, because it can go into a driver. It can go into a separate device that is called a bridge. Now, if you look into this little guy, what's really interesting is that it has a mesh inside. That's a really revolutionary concept. This is your smartphone, because it has all those components that before were separate devices. Like it has the alarm clock, it has the camera, it has a phone, it has everything in one device. So it starts with a Bluetooth radio. Of course, it has to communicate over an antenna. And then it has an occupancy sensor inside. Then it has an ambient light sensor inside. Normally, these two could be together or could be separate devices. It has a scene server. So that's normally a component from controls, not a sensing component. Then it has a circuit that drives the output, which can be either 0 to 10 volt or DALI, digital or analog. And the most powerful thing about this device is that it also contains the controller itself. That's a revolution, because normally in controlled environment, you had this box, this lighting controller that has to be set up. You need to wire all the lights to it, you need to wire all the sensors to it, or you need to set up wireless paths to the controller. And this controller traditionally was the brain of the system. Now, what we've done in Bluetooth Mesh is we looked into that, and of course the observation was that the controller is a piece of software. And because each light now contains a microprocessor, it can run the controller on its own. So it doesn't need the central controller. That's the powerful thing about Bluetooth Mesh. So you see that Mesh extends from device to device to communication of components inside the device. That's probably the new perspective that you may look into it. And it may contain some other things. So one of them, for example, is this Ocean adapter. This is a component that receives signals from this wireless self-powered switch and injects them into the mesh network. And they could be separate, but the powerful thing is that they are just one device. Now, the controller, what it does what it's supposed to be doing. It does occupancy sensing, and it translates the events like the switch activation event or motion sensing event or some timer events into the light level output that goes out. So simply that controller, it understands the nearby sensors, interprets the signals from them, and then it is pre-programmed, preset to different set levels, which can be like 100%, 80%, 60%, or can be in lux. It can implement the closed loop daylight harvesting lighting control system, and has all those phases. So that you have the run phase, and then you have prolong, and then you have standby. This is the behavior of the controller. And that's all those timings and levels can be set up, and then you may start wondering, how do you configure this entire system? And we are getting into that shortly. So the other illustration is the composition of a switch. So you saw that switch was a dual rocker switch, 2-channel. So simply those channels behave like two separate addressable entities within that switch, and of course they use the same Bluetooth radio. So this is how the switch looks looks inside. Now, the principle of operation of all that system is also new, and it's also very powerful. It is, we call it publish subscribe. So it's all about the information, and the devices in Bluetooth Mesh, they publish information. So the occupancy sensor publishes information about, okay, I see motion, I don't see motion. And it does that periodically, or it does this when triggered. Ambient light sensor publishes information about the ambient light level it sees. And this goes out wirelessly, and then you have controllers that subscribe to that information. So a controller in a room may be interested in what? In occupancy in that room. And the controller in a zone may be interested in what? In light level in that zone. And this is how they work together. This is how the bonding comes together. The powerful thing about this publish-subscribe concept is that the relationship may be more complex, but they are very lightweight for the transmission, because this system works more like Twitter. So you tweet your information, and then any number of recipients may subscribe to what you tweet. This is how this system works, and this is what makes them scalable. So a single occupancy sensor in that big hall could be sending out, tweeting the occupancy state in the hall, and then all the lights, like thousands of lights, could subscribe to it. And it still needs to publish one message. It doesn't need to shoot 1,000 messages. It just does one message, and this is why the system is so efficient and so lightweight. So you can configure all those relationships. So this ambient light sensor may be configured to publish towards these controllers, and this occupancy sensor may be configured to publish towards these controllers. And you can mix and match depending on real use case and real configuration of a building or a room or a zone. And of course, if one publishes, then any number of subscribers can subscribe to it. There are no limits. So here's one example of configuration of a Bluetooth mesh system. So you have 9 luminaires in the room. They are represented by the black boxes. And then the red group, every luminaire belongs to the red group. This is the occupancy group. Every luminaire in the room is interested in the occupancy in that room information. It's as simple as that. And then you have the orange and green 2 ambient light zones, because there may be windows in this room. So you may have different light sensors observing different parts of that room. We call them zones. And then you have the green zone, zone 2, and ambient light sensors publish to this group, and light controllers only in that group subscribe to it. And then you have another zone, zone 1, for ambient light. So you can see that these groups and publish, subscribe relationships, they can intersect each other. There is no limitations about how many different publishers I subscribe to, how many groups I belong to. I may belong to many. So the typical configuration again is that you have zone, then you have room, then you have floor, then you have the whole building. And if you have the whole building group, you may have a master switch which just publishes the lights off information to that huge group, and then the whole building goes dark. This is as powerful and as simple to configure as just like configuring who belongs to which group. So you may wonder now, like, yeah, this is powerful, but that looks like a complex system to configure, complex system to commission, which is not the case, because that can be aided by a proper software. This is like your smartphone. A smartphone is a very complex device, but then you have apps, right? And apps make it easy to use, because you don't need to know all that complexity. That software in the app is taking care of your camera settings. It's taking care of that when you sleep, then your notifications do not come through, and then when the alarm time comes up, then the speakers becomes loud and things like that. So this software, clever software, takes care of all those complexities and makes these systems today really simple to operate. So yeah, we're using the smartphone to configure the system. So this is your new tool. This is your new installer's tool. This is a screwdriver, so to speak, to configure that system. So now I will show you a quick video about the concept of how it works. This is the Silvair's implementation, and we are running the tours in our booth here to showcase how that works hands-on.
Welcome to the Silvair Commissioning Platform, your complete tool for setting up and managing wireless lighting infrastructures. Our commissioning platform consists of two elements, a web app and a phone app, both making the commissioning process fast and easy. The process begins with the planning stage in our web app. Here you create and manage your wireless lighting infrastructures by uploading floor plans, marking lighting zones, assigning lighting control scenarios, and more. Everything at this stage can be done remotely. In fact, the building doesn't have to exist yet to prepare it for the Bluetooth mesh network. All you need is a floor plan. You start by creating your account. The registration process is plain and simple. When it's ready, you can log into the platform. Once logged in, you are introduced to My Project section. This is where you create and manage all of your projects. A project can be an entire building, a single floor, or even one room. It is completely up to you and your requirements. You create a new project first by entering its name and then uploading an image of a floor plan. This is where you'll determine where and how the lighting control system is going to operate. You can always invite others to collaborate on the project as well. Coming back to our floor plan. Once imported, you can now create lighting zones. A zone is a combination of lighting devices that operate together to realize a particular lighting scenario. You can create a zone by clicking on a given space on the floor plan. Initially, you can name it and specify a lighting control scenario you wish to use in that zone. You can create as many zones as you want, each with its own lighting control scenario. You can select one of the predefined lighting scenarios, or you can create your own custom one. By editing a scenario, you can choose its particular type, run, prolong and standby modes, brightness range, and more. You can override the existing scenario with your modifications. This will cause other zones with the same scenario to work using identical settings. You can also save your modifications as a completely new scenario to be used in that zone and others as well. Once you're finished with creating zones in a building, you can leave the web app and enter the second stage of the process, the implementation stage. This is where you start using our mobile app to provision and set up devices on site. The connections between these devices will form the Bluetooth mesh network. First, log into the app using your account. Here you are presented with all the projects you created in the web app. You can enter any floor plan and see the lighting zones you previously marked. In order to start adding network devices to a zone, first select it from the floor plan and go to that exact location in a building. Then, using the proximity sensing feature of your phone, you can track all unprovisioned devices within its reach. Using the RSSI filter, you can narrow down the list of visible luminaires and sensors to those that are the nearest. When choosing a device, it will identify itself by flashing repeatedly. If this is the device you wish to add to that zone, all that is left to do is to click the Add button and the provisioning process will start automatically. The system detects what type of a device it is, a sensor or a luminaire, and uploads all the necessary information to make it work as part of a given lighting scenario. The security procedures, such as the key exchange, are taking place in the background for the user's convenience. Using our commissioning platform, you can set up your own wireless lighting infrastructures without any lighting control experience, at the same time being confident that your mesh network will be fully prepared to realize basic to advanced lighting control scenarios.
Okay, so that was the overview, and I think the most powerful thing that this system brings is interoperability, because you can take that platform from one company, you can take components from other companies, put them together in a building, and they just work together. That's the power of interoperability driven by Bluetooth. Interoperability has always been the cornerstone of this company, and really this Bluetooth mark, this is the guarantee, this is the promise that you're getting. Like, Bluetooth did that for audio about 20 years ago, and today when you buy a wireless headset or wireless speaker, you don't think about like who is making that and what it works with, because it works with everything, because it's Bluetooth, right? So the same vision, the same approach we have here with mesh and with lighting and sensing, and it's already happening. You can see number of companies doing their own products, and these products interoperating together. If you want to learn more, there is a new ebook that we put together that dives into practicalities of how to implement Bluetooth mesh in your lighting products. So that's the continue reading proposal. I'll leave you with that. We have a few minutes for questions, if there are any. I am around for the whole time and even after, so please approach me and we can discuss. And we also have the active interactive tours at our booth. So thank you very much.